Hi there, everybody, and welcome to the platform. Just Ask Dr. Macie and Guest. I'm your host, Dr. Macie, the social gerontologist providing education, training, and caregiver coaching to help you and your families reach the next level of care. So, this month, June, is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing some experts in the industry as it relates to dementia competent practices and also care. But I thought today, since we're ending Alzheimer's Awareness Month and Brain Awareness Month, I thought I'd end it on a light but sweet note and just kind of talk about some brain enhancing nutrients. One product in particular is something that everybody loves, it makes everybody feel good. Of course, I'm talking about wine. Wine is a brain enhancing nutrient. And I thought it would be fun to close out the month with learning a little bit more about wine. I like wine, but I know nothing about it, but I know who does. Our guest for today, Miss Nicole Mallari. Did I say that right? Mallari?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Yes, I did. She is a wine expert, and we are going to get into some specifics. But before we do, Nicole, I have to say this. The videos on this platform, including this one, is for information and entertainment purposes only. Please do not consume any products without medical guidance from your medical professional, and that would not be Dr. Macie or Nicole. Am I right, Nicole?
Correct.
So let's get to know Nicole Mallari a little bit better. She holds a WSET Level 2 award in wine and is a candidate for the Certified Specialist of Wine, which she will get. She is the founder of Vint Noir. I love that name. A tasting and wine education brand that highlights Black winemakers to all wine consumers. On social media, Nicole connects with winemakers and wine influencers on IG Live, Instagram Live to share their brands and journey in the wine space with her growing audience. In full transparency, that's where I found Nicole on Instagram. So for those of you who are on Instagram, get your game up. Get your hashtags working so that people can find you. Nicole, welcome to the platform and thank you for taking the time to give a sister and some other sisters and brothers some education about wine.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I'm so excited that you reached out to me and that you found me.
I
So thank
know.
you.
Shout out to Instagram. Shout out to your people for getting your page where it needs to be so that people can find you. And I will tell you, I really like wine. I like sweet wine. I am from the deep South, like I was, born on the dirt roads and all that stuff. And my daddy makes wine, but I know that homemade wine is not like the wine you buy at the store or buy from winemakers. And I don't think so because his wine is just a little bit different. But I know that you are a consummate professional by day in the public sector and you're a wine connoisseur by night. How did wine reach your professional palate? Tell us about you and how that all came about.
Sure. I started drinking wine in college, and it just kind of became a part of my lifestyle. And I graduated into from drinking sweeter wines, which is what most of us tend to do because it's the most approachable and it's kind of like the gateway wine, right? But through the years, I just became a little bit more discerning, and I'm always into trying new things. So I started drinking drier wines, and I really love the whole spectrum of wines from dry to sweet to sparkling. And there's so many great products out there, which is amazing. There's so many wine makers, so many wine products. I mean, we'll never really be able to drink them all, but
You think?
yeah, yeah. Honestly, there's a lot out there, but that's what's fun about it. There's so many interesting stories behind a lot of families and individuals who have started their wine brands, and it's one of those things that just really brings people together. I'm not sure how familiar you are with visiting wineries and vineyards, but people are really friendly and love to have conversations.
I
And
wonder why.
yeah, exactly. But it's the wine that's the glue that really brings people together, and it makes it a little easier to kind of have conversations. And I think that's what I love so much about it. So yeah, I've been a wine enthusiast for about 20 years now.
I love that. I love that you said that you're a wine enthusiast because it makes you feel good. It makes you happy. It's it's a social connector. It helps people to connect. I like that you said that there is a whole spectrum of wine. Being a gerontologist and working in the medical field, when we hear the word spectrum, we often think of medical diagnoses and things of that nature, things that are not as, happy or pleasing to hear. But let's talk a little bit about the spectrum of wine. I know you mentioned sweet and dry. Tell us what are the different types of wine, and for those who are new to the game like me, novice, how do they know what they like? Because when you go to a restaurant, they'll say, "Would you like a glass of wine? Do you like sweet or dry or red or wine or white?" And I always say, "Well, do you have Moscato?" I call that the fake wine drinkers like me. They always go to the Moscato. But tell us a little bit about what types of wine are out there. What types of wines are out there?
Yeah. Well, so most of the wines that the most wines that you see, at the table or at a restaurant, as you were mentioning, are still wines. And
Still, distill or
yes,
still?
still.
Okay.
So when you compare that to sparkling, you can see kind of where the name comes from, right? There's no bubbles, there's no action really going on in the glass. It doesn't have that carbonation. And then you have fortified wines, which are wines that have alcohol added to them.
Hmm.
So, kind of like your port wines, right? Those are fortified wines.
Oh, I didn't know that. So port
Yes.
wines are fortified wines, and they have
Yes.
alcohol added to the wine that has already fermented, that's already got a little.
Right. And they tend to be higher in alcohol by volume content. So that's one of the other differences there too.
So
So
no
yeah,
port
you've got
wine
your
for me.
still wines. Oh yeah, yeah, they're very strong. They're very strong. But there's some really great wines too. So yeah, you have your still wines, you have your fortified wines, and then you have your sparkling wines. And then you have, of course, your reds, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And you have your rosé, which is a lighter version of really a red wine, but the skins have had just a little bit of contact with the wine. So
Oh,
that's how you get those kind of really light tones. And there's so many
okay.
different beautiful colors in wine, which is another um, thing that I kind of like to geek out about. And of course, there's white wines, and that's really kind of the gamut. You're starting to see also now orange wines,
Hmm.
and again, it has to do with the skin contact from the grape. But that's a new, not really new, but it's kind of new so much in the media space, and really
Yeah.
in the consumer space. It can be a new experience. It's not something that you commonly have seen in the wine space.
Yeah, I would have freaked out if I would have seen it. I would have thought it was spoiled or something because I've only ever seen red, pink,
Yeah, I've heard
or
that.
white.
I've heard that before. I've heard that
How
before.
cool is that, girl? You have an amazing, fancy, sexy job, right? Who doesn't want to go to work with wine? So red wine, and
Yes.
I'm not sure if you know this or familiar with this, but it is a health agent, according to physicians and medical reports, and studies support that red wine is a brain enhancing nutrient. It helps to preserve the brain. We know it's a heart healthy food item. And I like for people to start better understanding when there is something that's good for the heart, it's also good for the brain. And we often hear people talk about physical health and overall health. We have to specifically call out brain health as well, because we won't be physically intact or physically healthy or mobile or agile if our brains did not tell us to do these things and to be this way. And so it's very important that we can share realistic, tangible things that people can do to preserve a healthy brain. Of course, there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease or for progressive types of dementia, but we do know that a third of the dementias can be prevented, possibly prevented, with lifestyle changes, maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And that includes adding red wine to your daily regimen or to your diet. Now, let me preface this. again, talk to your medical provider for medical guidance, because it does depend on your age. It depends on your medical condition. It depends on the medications that you're taking, and also muscle mass and things of that nature in terms of how, if you can drink it, how much you should drink. But tell us, what is the big deal outside of, we know it's resveratrol and it's a brain enhancing nutrient. Why do people tend to go to red wine first? Was red wine created first? Is it more natural than white wine? What's the deal with that?
That's really a good question. And I don't know necessarily that I can kind of pinpoint why people gravitate more towards red wine. I honestly when I see kind of people just trying wine, I feel like people kind of gravitate more initially towards, as we were talking before about Moscato, right?
Mhm.
I think people sometimes gravitate more towards whites, but reds can be a little bit more intimidating, I think, because people know that for the most part, they'll be a little drier
Do
and it
tell.
might not be that appealing to their palate, because it is something that you have to acquire. I wouldn't recommend someone jumping into a bone dry wine right away if they've never tried it, because it might put them off. You might want to try with something that's a little bit more fruit forward, that may trick your brain into thinking it is a little sweeter than it is.
Oh.
So, again, it's just one of those interesting things about wine. One of the easy drinkable wines that I love is a Pinot Noir. I'm not sure if you've had a Pinot Noir before.
I'm not is that's red, right? That's
It is
red,
a red wine.
right? Okay,
Yes.
so I have a bottle of that, but gosh, and you don't know me and I don't know you, but I have never opened it because I am intimidated by it. And I just think that real wine drinkers drink red wine, and I'm scared. Right. So the Pinot Noir, is that a dry wine?
Yes, typically it is. But it's a really nice wine. I do challenge you even to open the bottle up
Okay.
and just try it. With
Oh,
wines, you just have to try, and that's how you figure out what you like, and that's what you figure out um, what your palate is into. And what's interesting as well is one varietal, such as a Pinot Noir, can taste different if it's made in a certain region versus another. So that's always fun too, to try different wines,
hmm.
whether it comes from Sonoma or if it comes from Oregon. They could taste different. It's the same type of
Wow.
grape, but the way that the winemaker expresses it, the way that the land has influenced the growing of those grapes, it all really comes into play with how that wine expresses itself in the bottle. So it's really interesting. No two really ever taste alike, which is really nice.
I did not know that. That is important. Very, very important to know. What do you suggest folks who are switching to and trying to maintain and sustain a healthy lifestyle and wanting to add red wine to their diet? Like my mama, she swears she ain't never drunk wine or nothing before in her life. But because the information is much more available, and in a manner that's much more relatable and understandable, she's even inquiring about, well, what is this about red wine that I'm hearing, that it's a brain enhancing nutrient, that it's good for your health? What is that about? And this is what she asked me, Nicole, is it gonna get me drunk? I was like, well, I don't know, but we probably need to drink a glass a little bit together. Let me watch you, and see what happens. But that's a good thing though, because people are more
Yeah.
aware about the healthy things that they can do that's not costly, that can preserve their health and promote longevity. But what do you recommend for someone like her who's new to the game? Again, how do they choose? I mean, they can't go to the store and buy all those different types of wine on the spectrum, but what do you expect? What do you recommend, like a wine tasting or something like that?
Yeah, what's really great, I'm not sure if you have local wine shops. Those are really the best because it's a little bit more of a intimate experience that, when you go in the store, they usually have their staff members or their somms that are really educated in the wine and the wine regions, and they can kind of talk to you and kind of fill out what you might be into, figure out if if you are new to wine or if you are an enthusiast, and kind of guide you along the way. But if you go into the bigger stores, it can be a little bit more intimidating, right? Because usually you don't find anyone in the aisles,
Right. Like, help
and
me.
half the time, yeah, and in the big grocery stores and whatnot, a lot of times the folks there really don't know, and might not be able to guide you. But someone starting out, a red blend might be a good option as well. So when you have a red blend, it's really more than one variety of a grape that's blended together, and they can be really beautiful, not really harsh, for people who are new to drinking red wines. Cabernet Sauvignon is one of my favorites, and it's very complex at times, and it can be heavy to a lot of people. So again, I would suggest, like I talked about before, the Pinot Noir is a really good grape to start with. Merlot is
Okay.
a very
I've seen that one too.
oh yeah, yes, that's one of the staples, a very common grape, and that one's kind of medium across the board as far as the level of acid in the wine, the
Mhm.
level of tannin in the wine, and even the body. It's a pretty good grape to start with as well. But red blends, I definitely would recommend too, because they are a little bit more interesting, and can go really great with food as
Okay.
well. As
Good,
folks
good.
might want to pair that, if they're having dinner or something, they might want to have their glass of wine with dinner. And that could help too, as mom was being, concerned about, is it going to get me drunk? It might help a little bit if she's got a little something, in her stomach while she's consuming the wine too. So that might be
That's a
best to
good
do
point
that.
because they ain't taking no medicine on an empty stomach. Well, you probably don't need to drink wine on an empty stomach
Right,
either.
right.
Excellent point. So one thing that I did learn about wines, because we're gonna do a wine tasting and a toast in a few minutes. Some wines are vegan and some wines are not vegan, and that blew my mind because if it's coming from a grape, then it's vegan. So talk to us a little bit about how does a wine not get to be vegan, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And this is one of those things too that, with the terms vegan and clean,
Yeah.
there's
Buzzwords. Yeah.
really, yeah, they are buzzwords. A lot of brands are really trying to market their products that way. But the wine that we're actually going to be tasting today is made by a company called Sip and Share Wines. And when she says vegan, the winemaker, Nicole Kearney, she's referring to the way her wines are fined. So, once wines are pressed, once they've fermented, once they've kind of aged in the barrel or the stainless steel tank, and all that magic is happening, all that flavors is developing. Then once they get ready to bottle the wines, they have to, get all of that liquid out and drain all the sediment that can come
Yeah.
from the seeds and the stems. And, as
I
you can
see that
imagine,
stuff
this
in
is
my daddy's wine. So by the
oh
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially, yeah, you said it's homemade, right?
Yes.
So what a lot of people don't know is that when these products are filtered, which is what we're talking about in fining, they use a lot of animal byproducts to do that. And
Wow.
so it could be, egg whites, it could be other animal bladders. I didn't even know that some sodas, you don't even think, right, that you would think
Right.
a soda is vegan, because you just we don't realize what's happening in the production space of a lot of
Right.
the things that
Right.
we consume. But yeah, even sodas are not vegan because they're using animal byproducts to kind of help find those out. So a lot of people don't know that. It shocked me when I discovered. So this particular wine does not use any type of animal byproducts for fining. They use clay to fine their wines. And so
Wow.
that's how she classifies her wines as vegan.
And that's
And
interesting because certain things can still be called vegan if they do certain things. It can be classified as vegan. And I think that's an area that many of us are not. If we're not a true vegan, we're not familiar with all of that stuff because I never would have thought about that. It could be vegan in one sense, but what does that production look like and things of that nature?
yeah, yeah. And
You
so
learn
as we're
something
becoming
new
more
every
conscious
day.
as consumers, those are the kind of questions that people are asking more. And even companies, I think a lot of them are trying to get ahead of that as well, because they know that consumers are really kind of driving the conversation and really driving, of course, where their dollars are being spent, and they want to see products being made that really supports their lifestyle.
Right, true. And we're becoming more knowledgeable as well. So with more knowledge, more questions. So that is a good thing. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, it said we went unmuted for a second. Okay, we're back.
Okay. Yeah. So the more, and you stated that, people want to be sure that if they're paying for vegan products, that is 100% through and through from beginning to end. And the fact that we're getting more educated and more information, we know what questions to ask. And we certainly know more questions to ask after we've met with Miss Nicole here today. So the wine that we're going to try tonight. So full transparency again, I did not know that it was a whole, I'm going to use the word spectrum again, a whole spectrum of Black owned wine makers. Am I saying the terms right? Wine makers. Did not know
Yes.
until I started searching online, and Instagram is always the place to go. And I saw a whole slew of Black and brown people doing their thing and making wine. I was like, oh my God, this is really a thing. And I tell people oftentimes, usually when you think something exists, it probably does. Just look it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you for putting me on some sweet wine. I have not tasted the wine. This is going to be my first time tasting it. We're going to taste it together. But based on your recommendation, I have Abundance 7. Is it 7 words wine collection?
Yes.
And I've already opened it, but I needed people to see that it comes with a cork. Is there anything we should know about corks and screw tops? Is that a thing? Does that make a difference in the quality of the wine?
You know what? That's really a good question. And a lot of people, I know for years, there has been, yes, there was always this kind of a stigma that corks are always better than screw tops. And that's not necessarily true. Some wines really do better with a cork because you want to make sure that the oxygen does not get in and really make the wine stale, or it really changes the wine. So if a wine's sitting in if it's stored properly, you've got it in a dark place, and it should be laying on its side. So when it's laying on its side, the cork stays moist from the wine. And so usually the red wines, the wines that can age a little bit longer, you'll see that they have a actual cork. Now people are moving a little bit away from that if they don't really need that ageability.
Okay.
So a corkscrew will be just fine for most wines, because when you go into the wine stores nowadays, most of the wines are really ready to drink. You don't really need to hold on to them too long. But yeah, some of the wines that you can age a little bit longer, they do need that. They do need that cork there to hold the oxygen out of the bottle and keeps the wine keeps it moist, so that once you are ready to crack it open, it comes out nice and clean.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I had it on its side the whole time, but didn't know why. I just had it on the side, but I was doing the right thing. So
yes.
Let's do a toast. And we are drinking again, Abundance 7 word wine collection.
Yes, this is their sweet red wine blend. And we picked this together because I know that you said that you prefer something a little bit on the sweeter side. So I'm curious to see how you're going to like this one.
Now, am I supposed to smell?
Yes, actually, great question. So when we get wine, right, once we have it in our glass, and I have a little bit of a heavier pour than I usually would, but it's been a long day, want to relax. So when you get your wine in the glass, you actually want to look at the wine. Okay. If you have a white surface, like a table or a towel to put kind of underneath it, I actually brought one with me to kind of show, but just as a contrast, you can kind of tilt it and kind of take a look at the color of the wine in the glass and kind of see this beautiful garnet color here.
Yes.
So that's what you'll kind of see sometimes if you're at a restaurant or you're at a winery, you'll see people kind of looking, and they're just observing the color, observing really the viscosity of the wine. I think one of the greatest examples that was given to me when I first started learning is when you kind of think about milk. If you think about whole milk versus the lighter milks, right? The skim
The
milks.
skim milks, fat-free
Right.
milks.
One's heavier, right? And one's a little lighter.
Yes.
And so you can usually tell that too, just by looking at the wine, if it's going to be a little bit lighter, but you'll definitely be able to discern that once you drink it, and you can kind of see how it feels in the mouth. Does it feel light? Is it a little heavier? So yes, the next thing we're going to do is smell it. So we took a look. Now we're going to smell. So you kind of take in a nice whiff, and
yes,
you can kind of tell if the wine is. Oh yeah, you'll see people keep smelling their glass. Get your nose in there. You'll probably hear a term sometimes to take in the bouquet, and you're just really trying to take in all of the aromas that are coming up from the glass. I don't recommend you do this and we both got a lot of wine in our glass, but you can also swirl.
Oh, what does the swirl do?
It helps open up the wine a little bit more. It helps that oxygen get in there and pull those aromas up even more. And so sometimes when you do that, you will definitely get a little bit more of those flavors coming through on the glass when you do that, because the air opens it up a little bit.
Ooh,
so
is it time to drink?
When you smell this, we're almost there. I know you're there. So when you smell this, let's think about fruits that we love and that we eat. What kind of fruits are you smelling when you're kind of getting your nose in the glass?
I'm smelling grapes.
What else do you smell?
Strawberries, blueberries.
Okay. Yes, great. Really good.
Oh, that was good. I smell blueberries. I smell strawberries.
All right. Now let's get to the part that you've been waiting for. Let's take a nice little sip.
Okay.
What do you think?
Oh my gosh. One more.
Yeah, get a nice little mouth coating. You can even switch it around in your mouth a little bit. You'll see people do that because you want to let it really fill up your palate so you can take it all in and think again. Now, are you tasting what we were smelling at first? Are you still tasting strawberries? Are you still tasting blueberries?
This is so good. Let me tell you this. It tastes the way it smells.
Okay, good. And do you notice anything new?
Yeah.
I get a little bit of blood orange on this.
Yes, that's
and this is a great wine too, that can easily be used for a sangria. So it's great on its own.
Yes,
but you can turn this one to a sangria too.
I couldn't think of what that extra thing was. And it came in at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Blood orange. That's exactly what it is. Because I was like, what is that thing? What is it? This is
you definitely
so
can pick
good.
it up on the finish. Yes.
And it's
awesome.
light. It's light.
It's light.
It's airy.
It's really refreshing.
Abundant.
Yes.
Sweet red.
Yes.
Wine.
And I don't know, I can't remember if I had mentioned this to you before, but with this one too, I do like to put it in the refrigerator a little bit before I drink it. So, maybe 15 to 20 minutes just to let it get a little bit of a chill on it.
Well, I was ahead of you because I was gonna call and say, should I put it in the refrigerator? But I said, nope, I'm not gonna call her. I'm just gonna put it in the refrigerator because I like for it to have a little chill. So I did everything right. I put it in the refrigerator for a little while. I had it on its side. I had already poured it so it can get the air. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I know what I'm doing now. So I could be a little bit more sophisticated when I'm talking about wine and when I'm going out. Nicole, thank you so much for being here with us and just sharing your time and your talent and your information, and for putting us on to now tell us the name of the wine company, because this is Abundance. This is the name of the wine, right?
Yeah, so turn the bottle around and you'll see it's Sip and Share Wines. I've got a
Oh,
cute little logo on the back there. This
yes.
is this is a this is a Black owned wine company.
Black owned and woman owned.
Yes, yes, yes. The winemaker, her name is Nicole Kearney. She's in Indianapolis. Most of her grapes, I believe, come out of California, but she makes the wine there. And she's just got some great wines. There's a bunch of other varieties that you can try. She's got a Riesling. She has a white blend. She has a Zinfandel,
I love
and
it.
she's got a rosé. I recommended some of those to you as well. That I know
Yes.
if you love this one, you're definitely going to love
Oh, I'm so excited.
the other ones that I suggested to you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, send our best. Look, send our best to Nicole. We we
Yes, we
we
will.
we thank her. So this Nicole, because it's two Nicoles, tell our audience how they can reach you. Social media, email, website.
Yes, thank you. So Nicole Mallari, I am the founder and the face behind the brand Vint Noir, where I highlight and just really share the stories of Black winemakers and Black wine brands on Instagram and also on Facebook. And so that's at Vint Noir, VINTNOIR. And yeah, I'm there and I share my wine journey, sharing my products that I'm trying out, just kind of sharing my journey with everyone. And please don't be intimidated about wine. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be inclusive, and there's so many great products out there to try, and that's how you're going to learn. Just open that bottle
Open that
and
bottle.
open
I
that
love
bottle,
that.
try it out, share it with a friend or two, and you'll be on your way.
Wonderful. Nicole, thank you again for joining us. And for those of you out there, be safe, be responsible, drink responsibly. And again, get medical advice, get medical guidance from your medical practitioner who is not Dr. Macie or Nicole. See you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.